Well, I suppose I might as well begin. I've mentioned it often enough here and there, and it's not really all that terribly difficult to find. There's other YouTubes out there, and there's lots of material on the internet. For me, though, the tale, the tale of the tale, begins with the Behistun inscription. Since it's written in stone, literally, for me that counts as pretty good evidence. And so it's like a Rosetta Stone sort of thing with different languages on it supposedly used. It enabled Rawlinson to decipher linear A and linear B and find out some things that were hitherto unknown before then. The interest to me revolves around Cyrus and Darius and a certain house of Humri, as it's also called, which might sound also like Gimri or Gamiri, which sounds like Simri or Sumeri, which became eventually, supposedly, Sumerians, also became Celts, Keltoi. They were also known as the Sakasuni, sons of Isaac. And the story goes that this Umri, this house of Umri or Homri, was from the tribe of Ephraim in the north, northern tribes. Somebody set up a capital at Samaria, and they became known as Sumerians or Samaritans. And when the promises were handed down from Abraham to Isaac and Jacob, Jacob gave them to Joseph, and actually kind of jumped over Joseph a little bit, went to the younger son Ephraim, but Jacob, who was also known as Israel, said that his name, Israel, would be on the tribe of Ephraim, that they would get the promises, become a multitude of people, so many that if you can count the grains of sand or the stars of the sky, that would be analogous to the number of people that this tribe would become. And it's a long story. To make it really short, these tribes, they were taken captive into captivity, the northern tribes, and they got lost, as Hosea said they would in the Bible, if you read the Bible. And where they were known as God's people, they would lose their identity, become known as not God's people, and they'd wander around. And according to an apocryphal book of Ezra, 2nd Ezra, they decided instead of going back home when they were released from captivity, that they would go on up over the headwaters of the Euphrates River around the Black Sea, up into the Caucasus Mountains, where they became lost to history, and then amazingly at the same spot on the other side of the mountain is where the Caucasian people originate. So the story goes these Caucasian people are none other than the lost sheep of the house of Omri or Humri or Israel, to whom Jesus was sent. Jesus said he didn't come to save the righteous people, and healthy people don't need to go to the doctor, that there were some people that were lost and he came to bring them back. They would know his voice, and lo and behold, all these European Caucasian people became Christians. So that's the fantastic story in a nutshell, or a nutshell, as the case may be. There's another story woven into that one about Judah, and how most of all the promises went to Joseph and Ephraim, but Judah, the house of Judah, was to keep the scepter and the legislative branch. And as it came on down through David, there was an unconditional promise made that David would always have somebody from his house sitting over the house of Omri, the house of Israel. So the scepter would not depart from Judah nor from David. Thing is, Judah, when he had children by Tamar, she had twins, Zara and Pharez. And from the Zara line arose Dara, or Darda, from whom the Dardanelles, or the Bosporus, gets its name. And this line, according to the tale, they left Egypt when the Pharaoh rose up that didn't know Joseph. They split the scene, and they migrated on up around through Troy, founding Troy, and on around through the Iberian Peninsula, Iber coming from Eber and Ea meaning land, on up to Ireland. And a king of Troy named Brit went on to found Britain, which was at one time called New Troy, according to the legend. It kind of makes sense. And there's legends of Scotland and Ireland that also recount the tale. Geoffrey of Monmouth and Chronicles of Scotland. They're all over the place if somebody has a mind to go dig them out. So from Egypt to the Bosporus, Dardanelles, Troy, Greece, Rome, Iberia, Zaragoza, lots of stuff. It knits up a nice neat tale. And so according to the legend, these kings of Europe, they rule by divine right as given to them through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Judah. According to one tale, the northern tribes, they always like to deify people like Odin and Thor, and even Zeus and Jupiter. According to one story, Zeus and Jupiter, same person, deified was Judah. From Judah, Zeus, Deus, Jupiter, Pater, Jupiter, Zeus, Judah, same guy. Deified though. The southern tribes, they didn't go in much for deification, but the northern tribes sure did. They were always animists and pantheists. And when Jesus came along and told Peter the gates of Hades up there at Tel Dan in the north would not prevail against the church he was going to build on Peter, apparently that's come to pass. So that's more evidence. So for me, this evidence thing, evidently, there were these gates of Hades, there were northern tribes, there were the books were canonized when they asked Moses, how can you tell if a prophet is a prophet? He said, well, if what they say comes true, then that's a prophet. So over the years, the thousands and thousands of years, going back 2, 3, 4,000 years, as things came true and they unfolded, people wrote them down, they kept track of them, and lo and behold, the story has a lot of credence to it. It might be snake oil, it might be whatever for people that are here with ears to hear. They might hear a word or two, it might make sense, might not. If you're not called, you can't hear, no big deal. I just thought I'd speak it all out there and get it all down in case anybody happens to be interested. Not sure what else to say, I'm trying to keep this short. Yeah, there's the red hand of Ireland, the scarlet thread, when the twins were born, lots of twins being born. And then there's always a struggle over who's got the birthright. That's a theme. And so it plays out in history with the children of Ishmael and Esau versus the sons of Jacob and Isaac and Abraham. Really an epic, to be sure, historically for sure, and legendarily for sure. So if the stories be true, the sun is still shining. There's still somebody sitting on the throne of David over the house of Israel. The lost sheep heard the word, they heard the voice. Christianity spread through Europe and all across the world. The sun never set on the empire. And that might have been the close of that age. From the keeper of promises, the Yahweh Jehovah volcano god said, I used to be known by a lot of things, but now I'm doing a new thing. And so here's the deal, and it's going to be so fantastic, no one will be able to doubt it. Keeper of Promises, the one that wrote the script, starred in the show, produced it, directed it, and that's pretty much the story. And I like to see it, as I've said in many other of these talks, that it's an Indra story, can be all wrapped up in a nice Hindu story. And it all fits nice and neat, the Venn diagrams, the subsets, the geometry of the thing, the topology, topography, history, and not to mention a little metaphysics thrown in there, religiosity, how things are tied and retied, and how a worldview comes to be. So that's pretty much mine in less than 10 minutes. Not sure if I'll expand on it or expound upon it, pound it into the ground like a nail into the sky. A mind sigh. Why oh why can't I? Well, I cans and I do. I done did.